Just as a disclaimer, to ease some of your minds, this is not a sponsored video. Not one of these brands contacted me, paid me, or even know that I'm making this video. I bought all the filters myself. Some came off of my cars, the other I bought. Now let's get started. Here's the video that you've all been waiting for. I'm going to do a oil filter comparison ranging from the least expensive conventional oil filter up into the most expensive fully synthetic oil filter that I could find. Right here I have 14 oil filters in front of me. 13 are in canister. This one is just the filler element itself. The canister is in the car. We're going to talk about the anti-drain valve, the bypass valve, the filler element, the end caps, the thickness of the canister. I'm going to cut them open with my 4.5-inch angle grinder, and if need be, I have extra cutoff wheels. I'm going to, I have 2 oil filters that I have used, so I'm going to take my drill pilot hole in the bottom, drain out all the oil, and flush the water, flush it out with water thoroughly. So sit back and enjoy, because we're going to see who's the best, how they're made, and get to understand exactly how an oil filter works. No particular order, I'm going to give you the names and the brands of the oil filters I've used. And right here we have this oil filter called Supertech. We have a Fram Tough Guard, Fram Ultra Synthetic, Motorcraft, Mopar, K&N, AC Delco Professional, Fram Ultra Synthetic, Mobil 1 Extended Performance, Wix XP. We have a Bosch, Stp Extended Life, Stp oil filter, and then this is also an XTP extended oil filter. I'm all ready to cut open the oil filters. I got my angle grinder, I got my vise set up. My safety equipment is going to consist of a respirator, hearing protection, gloves, my goggles, and an apron. I'm also going to move my Land Rover because I don't want sparks flying and hitting it. Don't worry, I'm not going to show the entire process of me cutting all of it. It'll take too long, but I will show a few clips. You know, using the angle grinder, to me, it's a little cool, but it can be a little dangerous, and I understand if you don't want to use one. They actually have a tool that is designed to cut open oil filters. You just go around, and I actually show a picture. You just go around and it just cuts off the lid, the cover plate, and it's fast, easy, but to me that's a little cooler. Now that I have them all cut open, I'm going to bring one to the camera so we can actually see the entire process of an oil filter. I'm going to use the K&N filter because it has one unique feature that the other filters don't have. At the bottom of the K&N, you have a nut, and this will
help you take the filter off if you have it on too tight. Plus, on the bottom of the nut, it has 2 holes on either side, and that just allows for better securing if you're in racing applications. Other than that, this filter is going to pretty much mimic all the other filters. On all your filters, at the top you're going to have a gasket or a seal that sits on top of your base plate. Then you have the holes, these perforated holes. This is what allows the oil to flow into the filter, and in the center you have a threaded hole. Removing the base plate, you can see you come to the anti-drain valve. This particular one is silicone, but they also offer rubber. Silicone is better because it's going to last longer and stay more pliable over the life of the oil filter. Then moving further down, you come across the end caps. You have an end cap at the top, you have an end cap at the bottom, and in the middle you're going to have your filter element. Within the filter element, you can see there's a center tube, and this particular one is also made out of steel and is perforated. Then in the bottom of the canister, you're going to have a spring. You're either going to have a steel spring or a coil spring. This particular one is a steel spring, and as you can see, it has the bypass valve built into the spring. Some oil filters will have the bypass valve built into the bottom of the end cap. This particular one has it built into the spring. So here's a recap. You have your gasket or seal, your base plate, oil flows through the holes, passes by your anti-drain valve, you come across the top end cap, the filter media, the bottom end cap. Inside is going to be a spring, and if your particular filter has a bypass valve, it will either be in the bottom of the end cap or in the spring. Here are a few differences for an oil filter that is for conventional oil and an oil filter that is made for synthetic oil. For starters, the anti-drain valve on a conventional oil filter is going to be made out of rubber, and that just doesn't last as long as a silicone oil filter. Then your media filters are going to be a difference as well. On your synthetic, it might be a blend of ultra synthetic fibers. It's going to be thicker and it's going to filter longer and higher and have a higher capacity to filter. Where on a conventional oil filter, it's not going to be made to last as long. As far as the end caps go, I've seen, well, you will see that some synthetic oil filters and some oil filters for conventional oil, they flip-flop. So that's not a major difference. Now, let me show you one of the benefits of a silicone anti-drain valve. Right here is an oil filter that came off my daughter's car. This particular filter went 3,000 miles. And as you can see, the anti-drain valve it's not really snapping back to shape. It's not really snapping back to shape. It's taking its time. It's kind of holding the new form, which that is fine because it lasted 3,000 miles like what it's designed to do. Now, on the on the synthetic filter, this one lasted 6,000 to 8,000 miles, and as you see, the anti-drain valve is very flexible still. So when the oil passes through, it's going to snap back into place. Therefore, this is going to last a lot longer and protect from the oil flowing back in unfiltered. Here's a bird's eye view of what we're looking at. All of them are laid out in the same way. You have your base plate, your anti-drain valve, then your filter element with the end caps, then your springs, and then the canister themselves. And it's pretty interesting to see how different manufacturers design their oil filters. I'm going to break up the two filters into two categories. Over here, right here, these are all your conventional oil filters, and then these are all the synthetic. The conventional oil filters use a rubber anti-drain valve. They use a silicone anti-drain valve. I don't think it's fair to compare the two, So I'm just going to start with the conventional first. All of the conventional oil filters have a heavy duty base plate, and they're all going to have your rubber anti-drain valve. On the Supertech, you have a metal end caps on both sides, and it comes with a coiled spring. On the Mopar, you have metal end caps as well, and it also comes with a coiled spring. On the Bosch, you have again metal end caps, but it just has a steel spring, and this particular one has the bypass valve into the bottom of the end cap. On the AC Delco, you actually have cardboard end caps, and then you have your steel spring, and the bypass valve is actually in the steel spring. Then on the STP, you have metal end caps, and the bypass valve again is built into the bottom of the end cap, and you just have a steel spring. As far as the thickness of the canisters go, I would say the Supertech, which is the cheapest one, and the Bosch feel the thickest. Comparing all these, I would say that all of them seem like they're gonna last. This Mopar does seem to have the thickest filter element, but other than that, I think they're all pretty comparable. Moving on to your synthetic oil filters, again, all of them have a heavy duty base plate, and they all have your silicone anti-drain valve. Some of the anti-drain valves, as you see, go into the end caps, where some of the end caps go into the anti-drain valve. Starting with the Ford Motorcraft, you have metal end caps, a heavy duty filter media, you have a steel spring. Then on the Fram Tough Guard, you have cardboard end caps with a center steel tube, and it has a steel spring. On the Motorcraft, it also has a center steel tube. Actually, all of these have center steel tubes. The next is the Fran Ultra Synthetic. You have steel end caps, very heavy duty filter media, and steel spring. Your K&N, you have steel end caps, heavy duty filter media, and a steel spring with the bypass valve into the steel spring. Your Fram Ultra Synthetic, this is a different, is this a Fram? So I have two Fram Ultra Synthetics, and this one is a little different. You have your end caps are made out of steel. Again, heavy duty, very heavy duty, thick filter media, and your steel spring has the bypass valve built into the spring. This particular one says it can get up to 20,000 miles. I think that's the difference out of these two. Then your Mobil one, let me adjust the camera. Your Mobil one has the end caps made out of steel, heavy duty synthetic filter media, and the steel spring just has a steel spring. On the Wix XP, you have steel end caps, heavy duty filter media. The bypass valve is in the bottom of the end cap. Then you have a coiled spring, and the filter, the anti-drain valve goes into the end cap on this particular one. And the last one is the Stp Extended Life. Again, you have your steel end caps, you have the you have the bypass valve into the bottom of the end cap, and this one also has a coiled spring. Next, I'm going to cut off all the filter medias. The last oil filter went into a BMW 5 Series, and this is an Stp Extended Life. This particular one, you don't get a bypass valve, you don't get an anti-drain valve, and you don't get a canister. The canister is actually in the vehicle, but this one does have hard plastic end caps and then just a synthetic blend media filter.
Get to the oil filters, let me just add a little side note. In my personal opinion, I wish every manufacturer would add this little rubber coating to the bottom of the oil filters like Fram does, and or put this little nut on like K&N. I mean, I really don't understand why they all don't do it. But enough of ranting, let's get to the comparison. I'm going to start with the conventional oil filters. And I'm just going to stretch them out. Here is the Supertech. Here is the Mopar. Here's the Bosch. Here's your AC Delco. And here is the Stp. Filling all of the filters, I would give the Bosch the edge in the conventional ones, just on how sturdy the filter seems. They all seem to be made out of some form of paper or cardboard. This one just seems to be the thickest paper or cardboard. Now let's move over to the synthetic. On the Motorcraft, stretching it out, it has a cardboard type of feel. This is the Fram Tough Guard. Also has a cardboard consistency. This is the Fram Ultra Synthetic. I'm gonna get back to this. Here is the K&N. Again, feels like cardboard. Here's your other Fram Ultra Synthetic. I'm gonna get back to this one. Here's your Mobil one. The Mobil one just feels like a higher premium cardboard. Here is the Wick. I'm talking about the Wick again. Again, feels like a cardboard. And then over here you have your STP. The STP seems like to be a lot, but again, just feels like some cardboard. And then the very last STP, this is the one that has no canister. Again, with STP you seem to get a lot, but just feels like cardboard. Now, the three that I do want to talk about is the two Fram Ultra Synthetic and the Wick. Right here is the Fram filter media, and as you see, this chain mesh, it has a tic-tac-toe type of shape to it. And on the other Fram, this particular mesh looks more like a chain link fence. It goes in an angle. On the Wicks, it also has that chain link fence type of look. It goes in an angle. And as you see, as I lift it off, you can see that it's pretty substantial. These three filter medias are very impressive, and I can tell that they could filter out more debris. Looking at the filter media a little closer, the filters itself, they look like they're made out of cotton, and it's kind of hard to rip them. And all three of them seem to have a cotton consistency versus the cardboard. There's a few of the oil filters that stood out to me a little more than the rest. I'm going to start with the conventional oil filters, and for the most part, all of them are built with a center steel tube, except the AC Delco is the only one with a plastic inner tube. All the rest are pretty much the same. Some had bypass valves and some didn't, but sometimes your vehicle will call for a bypass valve. But excluding that, the Bosch, the filter element to me just seemed a little better than the rest of them in the standard oil filters, but they all seem to be built pretty well. Now moving over here to your full synthetic filters, the ones that stood out to me for the two Fram Ultra Synthetic. These filters are amazing. I couldn't rip them out. I couldn't use my blade. I had to get my reciprocating saw to cut these filters out. The wick and the two Fram, I couldn't get the filters out. High quality filters. Other than that, all the filters for your full synthetic are made of well quality. I personally use Mobil 1 because my car calls for Mobil 1 and Wick. I have a Land Rover. It's the only brand that will go on my vehicle. So sometimes it doesn't matter what filter you like, you have to get whichever one will fit your car. I will also say this Ford Motorcraft, this little thing felt like it was made and a tank could run over it and it wasn't going to collapse. But this is a follow-up video to a prior oil filter video I made. I had a lot of requests to do another one and to compare more brands. They said I wasn't comparing apples to apples. This time I went and found every single Apple, every single oil filter I could, and I bought and I made the comparison. So, as usual, I appreciate your time. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Thanks for watching. You guys have a blessed day.